Hello, today we're going to talk about perfect squares and square roots. So the first thing we need to talk about is the difference between these two terms. So first let's talk about a perfect square. So a perfect square is when we have a number times itself and it gives us a certain number. So let's pick a number. So let's do 4. So we have 4 and we're going to multiply it by itself. So 4 times 4. What is that? Well, 4 times 4 is 16. So 16 would be a perfect square. The square root is when you have this funny symbol here. So that's a square root symbol. It's also called a radical sign. So you could hear it called either one. And when we have a square root symbol with a number underneath it, we're looking for the number that multiplies by itself to give us this. So what number times itself gives us 16? Well, we just did that one. So 4 times 4 is 16, so the square root of 16 is 4. Okay. Another way of showing this 4 times 4 from this right here would be to use an exponent. And if we have 4 times 4, how many 4s are there? There's 2. So it's 4 to the second power, or 4 squared. That's why we call it a perfect square. For the purpose of 7th grade, you have to know the first 20 perfect squares. So I'm going to make a list for you, and I'm going to leave it here so that you can copy it down. Okay, but you're going to have this list, and you're going to have to memorize these perfect squares, because you're going to use them when we use square roots. I'm just going to require the first 20. A lot of these are just your multiplication tables, and you're going to have them memorized already. But some of them you might have to refresh your memory with. And I don't expect everybody to have 19 times 19 memorized yet. Okay, so when you do these and you're studying these, go through the ones that you already know, and don't spend as much time on the ones you already know. Focus on the ones that you have to memorize. Okay, so the first one is going to be 1 squared. So 1 squared is 1 times 1. That's just 1. Okay, and then I'm going to have 2 squared. So 2 times 2. That is 4. Then I'm going to have 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so all we're doing is just multiplying our base by itself. So 4 squared, we already said, was 16. Okay, next we have 5 squared. So 5 times 5 is 25. Now we have 6 squared. That's 6 times 6, which is 36. 7 squared would be 49. 8 times 8 is 64. Again, these are just some that you should probably already have memorized, but if not, that's okay. So 9 squared, that's 81. 10 squared, 10 times 10 is 100. And now we start to get to some numbers that you might not have memorized. And again, that's okay. So 11 squared, that's 11 times 11, that's 121. 12 squared, 12 times 12, that is 144. Okay. And now we're going to get to some that are even a little bit harder. So we have 13 squared, that is 169. Then we're going to have 14 squared. Okay, that's 196. 15 squared is 225. 16 squared, it's going to be 256. 17 squared, it's going to be 289. 18 squared is going to give me 324. 19 squared is going to give me 361, and then my last one that we have to have memorized, 20 squared, will give me 400. Okay, So hopefully this list will help you. Make sure that you copy this, and we're going to make flashcards in class. So the flashcards will also help us. But we're going to have to memorize these numbers. One quick tip. 20 squared is the biggest number that you have to know, which is 400. If you see a question with square roots that's bigger than 400, it's probably not going to be your answer. Just a quick tip. Since you only have to know the first 20 for this year. Next year you'll have to go a little bit further. But you have to know the first 20 for 7th grade. So hopefully this will help. If you have any questions about it, just let me know. There is a pattern to the perfect squares, but I don't really want to spend too much time on it. If you see the pattern, then you can use it, but it's kind of confusing if you don't see it, so I don't want to confuse you with the pattern right now. But if you see the pattern with the numbers, then that can help you memorize these too. But we're going to work on the pattern a little bit later. I don't want to start you out with that and get you confused. Okay. But that's all for perfect squares. And like I said, if you have questions, just send me an email.